All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Al Schiebel. I am your MC, your Master of Ceremonies for today. And today we have an exciting meeting. We're going to start with a carrier panel that's going to be led by Michael Walker. Before I do that, I'm going to introduce you Bob Brook in a minute. But I just want to remind you that C credits will be applied to your license number. Make sure that your information is on your profile through the Pathable website, and so that we can properly give you C credits. All recordings and handouts will be made available after the summit. If you have any questions, there's a chat box. If you go to the bottom of the Zoom, many of you have been to Zoom meetings. Go to the chat and just put in your question. I'll be monitoring throughout the day. Last but not least, make sure you go and visit all the virtual exhibit hall. This meeting could not happen without our sponsors, and so we appreciate everybody sponsoring, all the companies that do. And with that said, I'm going to introduce you Bob Brook with Smart Agent. Take it away, Bob.
Well, great. Good morning, everyone. My name is Bob Brook, and I recently joined Smart Agent CRM as president. Let me share information on our expectations as we head into AEP and the tools we believe will be most valuable to agents, applicants, and carriers at a time of social distancing and health concerns. This upcoming enrollment period could bring significant constraints none of us has experienced before. Let's set the stage for the next few months. COVID-19. According to a chart from the CDC, your target market for Medicare enrollments, those 65 years of age and older, is 5 times more likely to be hospitalized and 90 times more likely to die than the average 18 to 30-year-old person. Due to some of these statistics, it is suggested as high as 50% of Medicare-age prospects are unlikely to want to meet face-to-face this enrollment period, and almost 100% will avoid group meetings. As an agent, are you prepared to deal with that? With Smart Agent CRM and our suite of technology solutions, you can manage this enrollment with minimal frustrations. And our tools, what used to take an average of 6 interactions and 60 minutes of total time, can become 15 minutes from first conversation to a signed and submitted document. We set out to create a system that minimizes keystrokes for agents and gives them all the tools for when applications go digitally direct to carriers. Smart Agent pre-fills forms automatically from the data in your CRM. Additionally, you can send, receive, and manage electronic documents in real time and get signatures on a document while on the phone, just as if you were talking a prospect through a process sitting at the same table. And all of it is automatically stored in Smart Agent, meets all compliance regulations, and is securely backed up, stored, and instantly retrievable. For additional information, please go to our virtual booth or smartagentcrm.com and invest 2 minutes to watch a video that will show you how easy we can make this upcoming AEP and every application thereafter. Thank you, and hope everybody has a great day.
Thank you, Bob. We appreciate your partnership, and make sure you go to the virtual booth. And again, visit everybody's virtual booth. Now, without further ado, Mr. Michael Walker, he has served the association for many, many years, and he has the unenviable title of immediate past president. So take it away, Mr. Michael Walker. Thank you.
Well, good morning. Thank you, Al. And I am the aforementioned Michael Walker, the immediate past president of Georgia Association of Health Underwriters. And on behalf of our board of directors and our membership at large, I want to welcome you all and say thank you for your support. In addition to that, I want to say thank you to the sponsors. We certainly appreciate your sponsorship, because without you, none of this would be possible. Before we get started, and we have a great panel of guests here this morning, I just want to take the moment to say thank you to the Board of Directors for the Georgia Association, my executive committee, and the members at large for supporting me these past 2 years as I served as your president. We have encountered many challenges the past 2 years. However, with your support, your cooperation, we were able to get through it, and any success we had under my tenure is a direct result to the support that I had. With that, let's move into our panels. We have Jenny Alfonso representing United Healthcare. Jenny is new to the Atlanta area. And Jenny, let me just say welcome to Atlanta. We're happy
Thank
to
you.
be here.
Thank you.
We also have Rusty Lamb. Rusty has been around for a while, and he's been a partner for a long time. Rusty is representing Humana. In addition to that, we have David J. Burke of Aetna. We all know David. And we have Sylvia Smith from Athena. And Sylvia has been with Anthem and Blue.
That's Anthem.
I'm sorry, I said Athena, but I meant Anthem. Sylvia has been with us for a while. Sylvia and David kind of switched positions and what have you. I met Sylvia like 2 or 3 years ago, and she was working with David. Then they flip-flopped. David took off, and Sylvia took over for David. But thank you very much, and we're happy that you're all here. You know, as our sponsor opened up the show and said that due to COVID-19, we have to rethink what we do, especially because our target market is a market in which we serve the most vulnerable. And as you all know, within that market, there are quite a few people that have chronic diseases, which makes them even more vulnerable. So this year, with all of the changes, we have to look at a different way to do business. I have a set of questions that I'm going to put forth, and we'll give everyone an opportunity to speak and answer the questions. Feel free to elaborate and expand as you see fit. With that, let's get started. First question. With new safety protocols in play, what are you implementing as a company to reach beneficiaries this AEP? We'll start with you, Jenny, the new girl on the block.
Oh, great. Thank you. So as we all know, times have changed very quickly, and these are unprecedented times. It was something none of us could have ever imagined to have experienced. I mean, these are the things that you read about. You never think that it's going to impact anyone, for years and years. So COVID is here, obviously, and United Healthcare has worked very quickly to figure out what the best processes and procedures need to be in order to keep everyone safe, from agents to employees to beneficiaries. Everything's moving rapidly. And, having moved from South Florida just in July, I can say that Broward County, which is where I lived, was a hotspot, and I believe they may still be. So it's a little bit different here in this area of Georgia that I'm living in, but regardless, the safety protocols need to be implemented. So one of the things that we discussed as a company and as a whole, and then specifically to Georgia, is do we continue having community meetings? That's just the way many in our industry functioned. We would have beneficiaries in a room, usually at a hotel or in a community center, gathering to listen to the presentation to help them guide them towards the best plan suitable for their needs. Obviously, with COVID, that has changed the way we're looking at doing business. And at least in Georgia, that's not something that we'll be doing. We're definitely taking all of the social distancing rules that have been implemented, as seriously as possible. So, we have to make sure that we all have PPE, not just for us employees, but also for the agents and then the consumers. And that's for those that want to meet with someone in person. You know, we have to make sure that that everyone's social distance. So if someone does want to meet in person, you know, we have to make sure we have masks, cleaning supplies, surfaces are cleaned. You know, as a company, we're also, you know, making sure that we're being safe and keeping other employees safe. So we have to use an application called Protect Well before we enter any building or, you know, anything that may put us in contact with others. So it's still evolving, it's still changing, but you know, we're just taking, you know, plexiglass, you know, is something else too that we've recently started using. So as COVID evolves and more information is becoming known, then United Healthcare is being really proactive in getting all of those protocols in place to keep everyone safe.
Okay, thank you. Rusty.
Thank you, Michael. It's so good to be a part of the carrier panel this morning. You know, Humana has really demonstrated our, what we like to call our human care approach throughout this COVID-19 pandemic. Not only making sure that our beneficiaries are safe and they're getting the treatment they need if they do contract COVID-19, that's been very, very important. But we've also done, I think, a great job of protecting our associates and our agents, external partners out in the field. We provided safety kits for all of our members, which you probably have seen a lot of the green Humana mask in Kroger or Lowe's, Home Depot, et cetera. And that was really well received by our membership. We also sent those out to our partner agents to help protect you. Because let's face it, I mean, agents, most of you are 1099 contracted employees, and you've got to make your own decisions. But we want to ask you to please be thoughtful in the way you re-enter into the public. Make sure that you're prepared to be able to sell virtually with individuals. And we've been trying to train agents to sell virtually by providing really robust electronic enrollment tools, telephonic enrollment tools, to be able to sell in the 2021 AEP in a much different way than we've ever done before. So our number one priority is to protect our members, our beneficiaries, and our agents. And we're trying to do a really thoughtful job in doing that, Michael.
Thank you very much, Rusty. Al, you're at the controls. If you can somehow get David Burke to unmute his phone, because it's showing that he is showing his mute. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. With that being said, Mr. Mute, David Burke, your turn.
Yeah, it's the same thing. We are having face-to-face meetings, but we're extremely limited. We're limited to having 10 people in our space, both for agent meetings and for member meetings. We historically have had these, you know, multiple agent presenter meetings with members, and it's been a great source of revenue for our agents over the years. But this year we're limiting it to 10 people, including the presenter. Everyone's got to wear PPE. So we are doing face-to-face meetings, but, you know, we'd also, to combat that, for the folks that don't want to do face-to-face meetings, we have telephonic enrollments. We have two different ways to do telephonic enrollment. One is to call Aetna directly, and we, each agent that writes with Aetna can have their own 800 number, toll-free number where members can call them and they can enroll telephonically. So the telephone, that's been a real lifesaver, because we've had that for years. More of our agents are using it than ever before. And I lecture agents all the time about this COVID environment. I mean, if you're an agent and you're not embracing this virtual environment, what we're doing here, if you haven't embraced, and I'm probably preaching to the choir because everyone here is using Zoom, but if you haven't embraced this virtual environment, you're going to lose business, and that's just a fact, because other agents are willing to do this. Other agents have learned how to do this. And the worst thing that could happen, and to me, is a member who's sheltering, right? They're watching TV all the time. They're watching the news, and they're going to call the first 800 number they see on television, and then they lose the agent advocate. So, you know, I just, like I said, we're doing face-to-face meetings. We're being very careful about it, but we do have these telephonic enrollment options, and so that's kind of how we're dealing with it.
Thank you, David. As you notice a pattern here, we started with Jenny, and now we're going to end with Sylvia. So we have a bookend with women on the end. Sylvia Smith, talk to us.
Okay. Well, Anthem, like you said, is doing basically the same as everybody else. We're being very protective with our PPE. We also included another initiative for us is because we're going to have people in our Kroger stores. So we bought thermometers for agents so they can have those to use when they're out in the field. We have our shields, which 50 boxes showed up for me yesterday, really crazy. We have our protective face masks. We also ordered those as well. We have the face masks as well as the face shields. So we also changed our application process to lower some of the steps so it's easier for the agents to have access as well to process applications online. David said they had 10. We're even a little bit less limited. So we did all of our road shows, of course, virtual. They were well received. We tried to have a little fun with it and just keep all of the agents safe as well as us because we can't go into our offices right now. But we do have a process set up, like I said, for us to see agents. And if we do it at a social distance. And we usually are doing one-on-one mainly. But we do have all of the PPE available. And like I said, we took that extra step so some of the agents may not be comfortable and want to do, fever tests. So we give them the thermometers to do that as well. So it's been a process trying to get used to the virtual world because, like I said, it is 100% different than what we've known and we've always done in the norm. But I think that there's, like David said, we're embracing it well, and we're just going to have to plug along from that point.
Okay, thank you. Sylvia, you have one of those face shields that you can demonstrate for us today and how it works?
I do. Hold on one second. I'm going to get my son to bring it to me.
I was just wondering, that'd be pretty cool to see how that works. As she's getting
We'll mess up her hair.
Yeah, really. As she's doing that, I'll just tease our next question. Our next question is, how do you compensate for older beneficiaries that are not as proficient or internet savvy? Because we're talking about virtual reality here, and we're talking about communicating with them, enrolling them, using technology and what have you. And you all know that sometimes certain segments of our population are not as proficient as others. So that will be the next question. I see Sylvia's pulling out her mask, her shield, I should say, that she's going to demonstrate. Now, is this how the agents are going to use it when they go into the home to deal with the beneficiaries? Uh-oh, we lost her.
No, I was sorry. I'm not going to open it because, like I said, they're really expensive. So, but I'm just going to show you. This is the ones that we bought and we implemented, and it has a little thing in the back to put around the head for them to just put it around their face, so that protects them even more.
Okay, and that's for the agents to put on when they go in to visit with a senior.
If they have to, because like I said, let's be honest, the agents are being really creative. And if they don't want to have that direct contact, what they are doing is going and putting an application in a mailbox. So some people, no matter how much you preach technology, they don't want to do it, and that's understandable. But what they do is that they'll go put an application in a mailbox, go around the corner or sit, and they come out there, they sign it and take it, and they submit it. So, I mean, they're getting really creative with ways to make sure that they get to that consumer and help that senior. So I like the creativity that they're coming up with. But like I said, when it is situations where they do have to be in public, we just bought some of these so they would have them. Now, we do have some that's way on back order, but we do have some available, at least for some of our agents that will be working our Kroger stations.
Okay, well, thank you for Sylvia. You kind of led into the next question, which is how do you compensate for older beneficiaries that is not as proficient or internet savvy? So you mentioned that the agents will go and do an application, put it in the mailbox, let the senior come out and get it, and they go around the corner and sit and wait on it while they sign it and what have you. I assume that the agent will pre-fill it, and he has already spoken to the senior. They have agreed on what they're going to do, and then he picks it up and then comes back and submit it. So that's what you guys are dealing with, seniors that are not proficient with the internet and what have you. Jenny, speak to us about what United Healthcare is doing to compensate for older beneficiaries that are not proficient or internet savvy.
Well, you know, it's interesting Sylvia said that because we just heard about a very similar situation last week. So the agent, and this was someone in their 80s, the agent had already explained the plan, the benefits, they said, well, you know, I want to see you in person, but I don't want you in my home. So the agent pulled up in the car, the person came out to the front steps of the building. The agent had already left the paperwork there, right? Stepped away. The prospect sat down on the stairs, filled out the application, put it right back where it was supposed to be, and waved at the agent. So that's not really something United Healthcare is implementing as a company. It's just really what's happening day to day when a consumer needs to see a face and tie it to the voice that they've heard over the phone, and wants to make sure that this person takes the application, but does not want to be close to someone or touching the same type of paperwork close up. So agents are getting very, very creative with the population that is not internet savvy. And it's interesting because I think that so many times we're used to just shopping online for a lot of things, but then there's also other things that we need to see someone face to face. My parents are a perfect example. In South Florida, they were not quarantined, but because they weren't exposed, but they were kind of just isolated for months and months. And little by little, they're getting more comfortable with wearing a mask and going out to a grocery store. That wasn't even something they were doing for months. They were having groceries delivered. So I think little by little, people are coming out, for things that they feel are important. But obviously, we're kind of going back to the old way of doing things. It's from a United Healthcare standpoint, we're obviously advertising, using more funds to advertise in newspapers. Because for those that don't use internet or aren't familiar with how to use any of the technology, we have to kind of keep it available to them too. So obviously newspapers, we're spending millions of dollars in mailings this year just to be able to reach as many more consumers as we can. And then obviously telesales, the ones that enroll over the phone are going to be doing that a lot more too. And that's obviously just for those that are not internet savvy. So it's kind of a mix of creativity from an agent standpoint, and then kind of reverting back to the way we used to do things for those that don't have technology.
Okay, thank you for that. Rusty, your turn.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. I really think you need to think about your how you're going to approach this AEP in a couple different ways. I think the first and most important thing is to protect your existing book of business, to reach out to your existing members, make them feel comfortable that the company they're with is the right company. If not, show them alternatives during AEP to help them find the right plan for them, the right benefits for them, go through a complete presentation, and then help them enroll in whatever manner they're most comfortable with. If the beneficiary is internet savvy, and let's face it, most seniors that are aging into Medicare now, 65 or so, have been subject to the internet for 20 plus years. So they're probably pretty internet savvy. And Humana's got tremendous tools where we can actually push out all the compliance sales materials in one nice guidebook, including the sales presentation, summary of benefits, formulary, all the necessary documentation to the beneficiary electronically, and they can actually self-enroll, and the agent SAN number is built into that, embedded into that, and they get paid and compensated for that sale. Now, secondarily, you're going to have some beneficiaries that are not internet savvy. They're older beneficiaries or people that just aren't interested in the internet. So we have the ability, of course, to be able to send that material to them either electronically or through snail mail, where you can mail them a sales kit, do your compliant presentation over the telephone. And then when you get done with the enrollment on your own personal enrollment hub tool with Humana, instead of sending that electronically for a signature from that beneficiary, you would just pick up the phone and do a 10-minute three-way call with your beneficiary where they sign the application telephonically, and you're again compensated as the agent of record. So I think you have to determine what level of comfort the beneficiary has with the internet, with electronic enrollment. You also need to make sure you're protecting your book of business, because there are, I think David said it very well, a lot of seniors are sitting home watching Fox News or CNN all day, and they're picking up the phone and responding to Joe Namath or whoever and calling the first 1-800 number on there. And those agents out there are going to enroll that person over the telephone if you're not already reaching out to your existing book of business. So I hope that's helpful, Michael.
Thank you, Rusty. Well said. David, your opportunity at this question.
Yeah, I'm with Rusty on that. I think more folks, more seniors are using the internet than everybody thinks. I do a CE course every year about baby boomers and technology, and the number goes up every year. I mean, I think the number now is 75% of everybody over 65 at least uses email. And the hardest population to reach, I think most of the 25% is our decent population. They're the ones that are the hardest to reach through technology. You still have to get out and go to where these folks get their services to write that business. That's the most difficult part. So that's the challenge agents have, and you really just have to be creative. So, I mean, I like I said, but for those that aren't, there's telephonic enrollment. We have a similar thing to what Rusty said, where the agent can use a direct telephonic line and they get credit for the sale, and it's a kind of a three-way deal, and then they eventually kick the agent off because of the HIPAA information, but you'll get credit for the sale that way. And again, we have this remote agent telephonic enrollment process that every agent can have access to, and if you don't have it, just send me an email. It's easy to get access to it. But I think agents just gonna have to be creative. Jenny reminded me of a story earlier in COVID, and we're still trying to figure all this stuff out. An agent called me, and he had a member similar. He said they didn't want him even pull in the driveway, so he just drove by the house and threw the sales kit out the window like he was delivering papers, and did the Zoom meeting. So and that's the other thing too is I think in this, what was the last 6 or 7 months, folks have learned to use Zoom and other tools because they want to talk to their families. My parents are a perfect example of that. I mean, we taught them to use Zoom really early, and all of a sudden we're having Zoom meetings every weekend because my mom went months without letting us in the house. I'd go see her, and she'd have 2 lawn chairs out in the driveway. It's 90 degrees, and she wouldn't let us in the house. But so anyway, that you just have to be creative when folks don't know how to use the internet. But I think you're going to find that most seniors at least have email, and you can, use that as a tool.
Okay. Thank you, David. Before we move on to the next questions, we've had a couple comments that come in. Al, are you still there assisting us?
I am.
Okay, there was a question, one from, I think her name was Polly, about and it was for all the panelists. Do you see that question there?
Yeah, but I thought it was answered. It says the question is, how are you suggesting agents do the plan presentation for beneficiaries that may not be tech savvy?
Oh, okay. Well, they copied my question then. Okay, fine, no problem.
Now, here's another question.
Okay.
Do you have concerns about ESRD beneficiaries being able to join a MAPD for the plan year 2021? And then the follow-up question is, many years ago, Care Improvement Plus, now part of UHC, had a C-SNP that allowed ESRD enrollments here in Georgia. Are any of you considering such a C-SNP for plan for Georgia in 2022?
Okay. Which one of our panelists want to take that question?
I can address that, Michael. Michael, Humana's somewhat excited and, of course, apprehensive on the new decision by CMS to allow beneficiaries with ERSD to be able to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan for 2021. So, we are making adjustments to provide risk mitigation in terms of how many of those beneficiaries will select Medicare Advantage plans. I think a lot of them will. It does open up a new opportunity for our agent population out in the audience today. Humana is introducing a new chronic SNP for 2021 in Georgia, 53 counties. It's going to be designed for beneficiaries with diabetes mellitus, so it doesn't have anything to do with ERSD. Humana made the decision, if we're going to allow these beneficiaries with ERSD to enter into a Medicare Advantage plan, we're certainly not going to limit them to one SNP plan or special needs plan to enroll in. If a beneficiary has ERSD, their options are unlimited with Humana. They can enroll in any of our Medicare Advantage plans, offering them maximum flexibility, both HMO or PPO plans.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, my answer's short. I don't know about 2022 right now.
All right.
And I will say for Anthem, we as well, just like Rusty, we're offering it to on any of our Medicare Advantage plans that we offer for 2021. I mean, we haven't gone to the table to kind of think through it for 2022, but I'm sure upper management is seriously considering that right now.
Okay, fantastic. Jenny, comment?
Same as what everyone has said. We don't have a chronic plan for 2021 specific to ESRD. I'm not sure what 2022 is going to look like, but just like Sylvia mentioned, I'm sure it's something that's being looked at.
Okay. Al, Bob Brook had a couple of comments there. Could you share those with us, please, if you can, before we move to the next question?
Certainly. He said that the Smart Agent, the company he works for, is in talks to assist agents with their tools directly through the carrier broker liaison. So he said to let him know if you want to do a Zoom or FaceTime. And he said that the Zoom and FaceTime have proven that the over 65 group actually is more technology adaptive than previously thought.
Well, that's good to know. Okay, let's move on with another question. And as we talk, there'll be more and more questions that come up. But this is one that I want to put out there on the table to everybody. And it says follows. Due to the lack of a vaccine to immune against COVID-19, are you encouraging your Medicare beneficiaries and agents to get the flu shot to aid in the protection of each other in case there is a need for a face-to-face visit? In other words, what are you encouraging and doing to help? After all, we are in the healthcare space, and a lot of times your beneficiaries look to you for answers for everything. So can you address that, if anything is being done from that standpoint?
Well, at Anthem, we're not encouraging or discouraging. It's kind of a personal choice. It's kind of like when you go out to the grocery stores or the stores, a mask or no mask. We would prefer that they would, on my personal opinion, but we don't encourage or discourage either way. We let them make that their personal choice of their health needs. Of course, we want everyone to be healthy and be as safe as possible, but that's just an issue that we kind of leave up to them as their personal preference.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we're pretty much the same way, Michael. You know, it's we're not going to commit one way or another. That's between the individual and their physician, whether they should get a flu shot or not. And so, you know, that's kind of our position as well.
Okay. Rusty, any?
Yeah, I would just.
Oh, go ahead, Rusty.
Jenny, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, you know, very similar to what Sylvia and David have said. You know, everyone's aware that COVID and influenza have very similar symptoms. My personal opinion is I don't typically get a flu shot. I'm definitely going to get it this year. And, you know, obviously we want everyone to be safe. It's a personal opinion. As David said, it's between the patient and the physician. We just hope everyone's safe.
Okay.
I would just add, Michael, from Humana's perspective is, again, it is a personal decision on whether or not to take a vaccine, whether it be a flu vaccine or a coronavirus vaccine. But I hope people will make a thoughtful decision on whether or not to get vaccinated. I personally got vaccinated for flu. My wife did as well. I think Jenny said it well. The symptoms are very similar to one another. So we have seen studies around the world that the flu outbreak this year has been much lighter after COVID-19. So that's interesting to find out why. We won't know that for a few years. But Humana does make a part of our summary of benefits and our explanation of benefits. The flu vaccine is covered 100% as a preventative care. So we make it easy for that beneficiary to get the flu vaccine if they want to. So hopefully they'll make a very thoughtful decision.
Okay, thank you. And just for input on my side, like Jenny, I've never gotten a flu shot before, and never really felt like I needed to, because I tried to take proper and necessary precautions and work out regularly and eat well. However, for the first time, 3 weeks ago, I too went and got a flu shot just to be on the safe side. With that, I want to ask you a question, and this is not one that I sent you, but I'm sure you all can respond to it, being the experts that you are. You know, with the advent of COVID-19, it created a situation where a lot of people that had not signed up for insurance, maybe even some seniors, because you know, sometimes people will be Medicare eligible, but they don't go and sign up at that particular time. They may wait later, what have you. And there was a lot of talk about creating a national SEP, special enrollment period, because of the COVID-19. Can you guys tell me what you guys did in response to that? I saw a couple things that came across my desk where I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that Cigna said that they were implementing a special enrollment period or what have you. Did any of you guys do that or give some thought to that, or what's your thoughts on that moving forward?
I mean, I can answer the question. I mean, Humana goes with whatever guidance that CMS provides around special election periods. A carrier cannot really implement a special election period. It has to be a CMS approved special election period. And so there was a special election period, Michael, for COVID-19 that lasted for a period of time back in March and April that provided the opportunity for beneficiaries who were not able to take advantage of the OEP, the open enrollment period, January through March 31st, and gave them another opportunity to make a one-time change to go to a different plan if they chose to. Moving forward, I don't really expect, again, I can't predict what CMS will decide, but they do make decisions based upon disasters and natural disasters. We've seen several natural disasters this year. I share the hurricanes that have impacted our Gulf Coast this year, and last year down in South Florida, down where Jenny was from, Puerto Rico and others, they've offered special election periods for those natural disasters. So if they deem that if we have another outbreak that really impacts beneficiaries' ability to enroll during this annual enrollment period, then I would expect they would implement a new special election period based upon the COVID-19 disaster if it happens again. Hopefully, God forbid, we don't have a second outbreak like we had earlier in the year. So.
Okay, absolutely. David, do you have a comment one way or the other on that?
Yeah, well, yeah, we just follow what CMS does. We like Rusty said, we can't create our own SEP. There was a short one earlier this year, so you know, whatever CMS tells us to do, that's what we do.
Okay, all right, well said. Let's move on to another question we had. You know, and this is asking you guys to be fortune tellers and what have you, but do you think that we will ever go back to, quote, the good old days of enrolling clients face-to-face in those settings? Because as you said, a lot of seniors like that face-to-face interaction and eye contact. Or do you think because of COVID and the unintended consequence of everybody going virtual and using technology, that we maybe realize that we don't really need to do that? What do you see if you would look out into the future and say we get a vaccine and everybody gets the vaccine and we kind of get this under control? Do you see us going back, or how do you see us moving forward? And I will start with Jenny, the new girl on the block.
Okay, now you're picking on me.
I just want to give you airtime. I want everybody to get to know you. That's all.
I appreciate it, Michael. You know, it's hard to predict because we don't know, even if there is a vaccine anytime soon, we don't know what that means. We don't know if it's going to work. We don't know how many people will actually raise their hands and sign up to have that vaccine. So do I think that we'll go back to the good old days? I kind of think that we are creating a new good old days, you know, with the technology that all of us have really been forced to learn. And the consumers, you know, those who are turning 65 now are way more technologically advanced than many of those that are in their 80s and 90s. But you know, it's kind of interesting to see how many grandparents are now completely familiar with Zoom. just to be able to see their grandkids that, you know, whether they live near or far, they probably shouldn't be in contact with them, right? Or they can't see them. So Zoom has become a very, or I should say video conferencing, to not specifically name Zoom, has become kind of a thing that's normal now. I think that the frequency of contact between elderlies or 65 and over, or even those younger, but just, you know, autoimmune, with a risky autoimmune system, are able to still stay in touch just by using technology. So are there, like I mentioned earlier, are there things that, or situations where you do need to see someone face to face? Absolutely, but I don't know that we're not in a better place. And I'm gonna share something that's my personal opinion. I think that staying home, you know, it's really created a new lifestyle for so many of us that really never experienced that true balance of life, and work, and having, you know, children in the house. And I don't know that people are going to want to jump up and commit to spending 14 hours at an office when you can very well, you know, adjust to having a more normal, balanced life. So I think it'll be a combination. I think that companies are, you know, United Healthcare invested millions of dollars in technology just to be able to get remote signature in place, and DocuSign, and enrollment applications, you know, through internet. So I don't think that technology is going to go away. I think a lot of people will adapt to the new technology, and I think it'll be a little bit more of a combination of both. That's kind of my prediction.
Thank you. Thank you. Rusty.
Yeah, I think that the face-to-face appointment will always be important to agents who prefer to meet with their beneficiaries face-to-face and be able to, I think you said it earlier, Michael, just to be able to put a face beside the name of the agent that's helping them make a very, very important decision about their health care. So I don't think face-to-face appointments will go away once we do resolve the pandemic and seniors are comfortable allowing agents to come into their home. That being said, I do believe we created through this pandemic an opportunity to create kind of a more omni-channel approach for agents that are going to be most successful, and they're going to come out of this pandemic with a growth in their book of business, an opportunity to see them add more beneficiaries, more referrals, et cetera, are the ones that are prepared to meet the beneficiary where they want to be met. And some beneficiaries going forward, because they've gotten used to the technology that Jenny just spoke about, then they're going to be much more likely to want to, the consumers are going to be more likely to want to purchase a lot of things, including healthcare, virtually. And so we want agents to be as talented and comfortable with a variety of different enrollment methods and enrollment tools so that they can meet that consumer where they want to be met. We think that's kind of the model for moving forward in 2022, 2023, and beyond, as technology continues to be a very important part of our lives.
Michael,
Yes.
I got 3 questions that came around. First one is, can someone speak to HIPAA and Zoom compliance? That's one. The other one is, are your Advantage plans waiving the hospital copays for COVID admissions?
Okay.
And the third one, I don't know where you'll meet to the third one, but rates continue to rise, and there is a point where the cost of insuring outweighs the cost of having insurance if you're relatively healthy. What are you doing as carriers to make this aware to the powers that be that there's a huge need for a change, which with the cost continuing to rise?
Okay. Let's, for the sake of ease, let's go back to the first question and give our panelists an opportunity to do that, and then go with the second one.
Sounds good.
How that works. So Al, if you would, please repeat the first question.
Someone speak to HIPAA and Zoom compliance.
Okay. Fine. Who wants to give a shot at that? Okay. we have crickets. I don't know.
Well, I can say, I mean, the only advice I would have is, just because you're doing a Zoom meeting and not face-to-face, you have to treat it just like a face-to-face meeting. So as far as compliance goes, you still have to do all your, hit all your buttons as far as compliance, and, make sure the members get the proper CMS approved materials. And we even have videos agents can use as a presentation that work exceptionally well with Zoom meetings. So, and it's, that they're CMS approved videos. So that I would encourage anything like that. But, that just because you're doing a Zoom meeting, you still have to meet all the same requirements you do when you're face to face.
Okay.
I would really second that, what David said. Compliance in a telephonic environment or a virtual environment is just as important. You've got to do a compliant presentation, go through the summary of benefits. We have the videos as well. Regarding, I think the question maybe that Al posed is maybe more to what about sharing personal information over a Zoom function like this? And unfortunately, I'm not a HIPAA attorney or anything like that, but you just need to be cautious with sharing information like that. You may want to consider doing that by the telephone when you do the enrollment process. Do your presentation over a Zoom meeting if you're doing a Zoom meeting, but do the actual gathering of the application data on a telephonic call, which hopefully is more secure than a Zoom call.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would just say protect yourself. I mean, take all precautions. I mean, it's,
Absolutely.
Yeah, one of the things that we're doing is we are having meetings through Zoom. So let's say we get five prospects on the line, excuse me, on a Zoom meeting with the agent. We're not collecting data there. If there's any follow-up questions, or they want to get some additional information, or they want to review benefits again, or they want to enroll, as Rusty said, that's a separate conversation. That's a telephone call. That wouldn't be done over Zoom.
Okay. All right. Al, how about that second question? I think it was regarding waiving co-pays due to COVID-19, if I recall.
Yes. The question is, are your Advantage plans waiving the hospital co-pays for COVID admissions?
Okay.
So I know at United Healthcare, anything COVID related, any treatment, any testing, was all co-pays were waived or have been waived. How long that will continue to go for, I'm not sure, but as of right now, it still is.
same goes for Aetna.
Same for Humana, yes.
Okay. Celia?
I'm on mute. I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay.
Some COVID-related conditions are waiving the co-pays. Of course, I can't speak on specific ones right this second off the top of my head, but yes, some are correct.
Okay. I have a question, and again, this is somewhat of hypothetical because we don't know, but I'm just interested, and this is also for my own personal knowledge and not really asking you to predict what's going to happen, but I just want to propose, and I've been wondering this myself. In regard to the election, we are in an election year coming up, and I'm not going to get political. It's going to be basically regarding the industry we're in. However, I have been reading that if former Vice President Joe Biden were to be elected, that he is considering lowering the age of Medicare to 60, I believe. I'm wondering if that were to happen and former Vice President Joe Biden is elected and he lowers the age of Medicare, people being able to go into Medicare or buy into Medicare, but lowering that minimum age from 65 down to 60. What type of impact you see that having on our industry overall? Positive, negative? Any comments on that? Any feel for that if that were to happen?
Well, I can start with that one. I won't touch the political side of the decision on November 4th, but I will tell you that if that were to happen, where beneficiaries were extended the opportunity to enroll in Medicare at age 60 versus age 65, you're going to have a whole new group of retirees that are going to enter in the population a lot earlier. Because one of the big things for a lot of workers that are, my age, I'm 61, is how do you bridge that gap between when you're ready to retire till you can get health care provided for you by the federal government through Medicare. And so I do believe that we do have a crisis on our hands regarding health care, especially for those under age 65. I believe beneficiaries on Medicare are very well taken care of. And I think most beneficiaries, when they turn age 65 or they earn Medicare eligibility due to disability, are very well taken care of in our Medicare system. I don't know that we can afford, from a country's perspective, be able to expand Medicare because of the cost associated with it. How are we going to pay for that? But I do feel like our leaders have to step up once and for all and come up with a national mandate on how we're going to provide health care for individuals under age 65.
Agreed. Well said, Rusty.
Yeah.
That was my thought as well.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Michael.
That's okay. That was my thought as well. I was wondering, if we were to expand, how are we going to cover the costs? So something that has to be addressed there. I know that in theory, it sounds good and it looks good, but the unintended consequence may be a drain from an economic standpoint. David, go ahead.
No, I feel that if we do, and everybody, all my friends on this call know that I'm apolitical. I despise politics, but I do feel that it's a one way that we could pay for it is, even if we have to reduce Medicare benefits to pay for it, carriers are smart enough to figure out how to fill the gaps. We're doing that right now. And so, I'm not smart enough to figure all that out, but I do feel like that we're smart enough as carriers to design plans that can fill the gaps.
Okay. All right.
Michael,
Yeah.
so there's a couple of follow-up questions on the Zoom and HIPAA. Regarding Zoom or similar platforms, as an advisor, we best not be sitting in a coffee shop while conducting the meeting. We should be in a private place and advise the clients to be aware of who's around and may be able to hear their questions. The other comment that was made is about Zoom is that, it says, HIPAA, can we clarify? Are you worried that Zoom is not secured? Paid subscriptions of Zoom are secure. So, yeah, and that's a good point. If you're in a coffee shop, you're exposing yourself to all kinds of stuff, so, but that's a great
My advice to everybody on this call, Al, is just assume everybody's listening. Same thing with an email. When you send an email, you got to assume everybody in the planet is going to read it. So I would be, like I said, you have to protect yourself, but just assume everyone's listening.
So don't do reply to all.
Okay.
That was, let me see. There was another comment that says, as an agent, Carolyn said, I would love that the age requirement gets lowered to at least 62, because that could help agents financially, if you will, because that's going to open up a lot of doors. So anyhow.
Okay.
I think, Al, one thing that agents need to be doing right now is meeting with that 62-year-old right now to find ways to be able to help that household, whether it be a life insurance policy, long-term care, some of the other things that you've discussed at your summit or have on today's agenda. They need to find ways to be able to sell a standalone dental plan for the underage person that you can purchase a standalone dental or vision plan. Get a product in that household so when that beneficiary turns 65 or whatever age Medicare might eventually go to, that you've got a relationship with that individual. That's how you grow your book of business.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Do you want to comment on expanding Medicare down to age 60 or what have you? Celia, are you there?
Oh,
We got
I'm here. Well, and the thing is, I was sitting here just thinking about the comments that was made and the thought and the question that was asked. I can see it. It's like a double-edged sword, just to be honest. It could be beneficial for us, the carriers, but it could also be not beneficial financially for us to carry. It's just something that would have to go back to the table and really be thought out. I mean, I understand where his thought is of wanting to change it. I just don't know, like I said, the ramifications of making the change. So at this point, I was just starting to think about it because, I never even really considered it because the election hadn't happened yet. But I mean, that's something to think about. I'm not 100% sure where my answer would be on that one. I'm going to be honest, because I can see both sides being good and bad.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, we're getting to the end. We have about 5 minutes to go. I want to say, guys, you have done a fantastic job. We were able to fill space, fill gaps, go on the fly. But I have one last question before we leave. And again, it's one that you all can certainly answer because you're experts. The dreaded scope of appointment. We, as an association, that is the National Association of Health Underwriters, we have been lobbying and working to try to get rid of the scope of appointment. And as you recall, when it first came out, we had to mail it out, get the beneficiary to sign it 48 hours in advance, send it back to us, and all of that before we go. Then it kind of changed to that, well, you can get it done before you do it and what have you. I do know that there were efforts underway by lobbyists in Washington to get CMS to suspend the scope of appointment for this AEP because of COVID. I understand that they decided not to do that, but I think you can get it signed and maybe make it a part of the record so you don't have to submit it or what have you. Can anybody speak to that and what you were telling your agents to do on the scope of appointment this year?
Well, I personally would prefer that we keep the scope of appointments because it's protected for both the agent as well as the member. That's how I feel about it, because at the end of the day, you need something in some record to show that there's not going to be an allegation here, there, and everywhere. I actually absolutely think it should stay in place for this AEP because of COVID and a lot of the situations that are going on with people abusing and, abusing seniors because of the COVID situation. So me personally, me as my personal self, I think the scope of appointments should stay in place.
Okay, thank you.
I would concur with Sylvia. I think she said it very well. I think there's scope of appointment does provide protections to the beneficiary as well as the agent. An agent now can complete a scope virtually. They can complete a scope on paper. There's a variety of different ways. Telephonically, there's a variety of ways for an agent to complete a scope of appointment, but it does provide that level of protection both to the beneficiary and the agent.
Thank you, Rusty.
I agree, Michael. I mean, with everyone so far, and we've made it so easy to get a scope that it really shouldn't even be an issue anymore. It's just there's dozens of ways to do it, and they get easier and easier every time.
Okay.
Agreed.
You get
Agreed
the
with
chance
what
to close it out.
I agree with what everyone has commented. We have an electronic scope of appointment version. You can still use a paper version. It's really up to the agent on how they want to do that. But I agree. It's a lot of, it gives protection to that agent.
Okay.
Because you don't want someone saying, they never signed an application and there's no scope of appointment to back up the fact that the agent did truly meet with that prospect.
I agree. I understand. Well, there you have it, people, from our panel of experts. We want to say thank you to each and every one of them. Jenny, again, welcome to Atlanta. We appreciate
Thank you so much.
you. And Jenny did a great job representing United Healthcare. And I have to say that, Jenny was a little concerned when I reached out to her and told her to come on and what have you. I promised you it was going to be easy. Would you agree?
Yes, I do. Yes.
All right.
You.
Thank you. Rusty, thank you very much for your partnership throughout the years, your support to me. We really appreciate it. And
Thank you, Michael.
Look forward to continuing to work with you. David Burke, a lot of people, you don't know that David is a semi-golf pro, and he was bragging about the fact that he just now he's going on the senior tour, terrorizing seniors that are like 70 and 80 years old with the long ball. Dave, that's not fair, man. But thank you anyway for your support. Sylvia?
Thanks for having me, y'all.
Okay, absolutely. Sylvia, thank you very much. We appreciate the support that you bring to us from Anthem every day and each year. With that, I appreciate it, everybody, and have a good rest of your day. We're now leaving the meeting.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thank
y'all
you,
take care.
and
Aye.
great to be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Now we go into breakout sessions, and there's 2 different types of breakout sessions. Thank you to all panelists, and we're out.